Getting into coaching has been a long journey and really started from my first days as a gymnast myself. I originally started at Stopsley High School, which was a really regular standard school gymnasium. I started at 12, 13 years old and worked my way through junior program, senior program, and at the same time qualified as a teacher and got a degree from Borough Road College. Sort of pull yourself onto it and then just block and hold and then stay. Well done. That's totally different in a few goes. Hendon became my home gym whilst I was at Borough Road College. It was an old Victorian Army drill hall with glass apex roofs and steel girders everywhere. Leaked a lot, smelt a lot. We had weeds growing through the walls, but it had an atmosphere that was second to none. And at that time we had 4 or 5 of the national team all training together. And it was no more than 25 metres by 14 metres, so very cramped, but a real workhouse. I think I recognised my own personal limitations in performance quite early on. I was never the most talented and had come to the sport quite late. I knew I was a solid performer and fairly steady under most pressure situations, but I was never going to be the ultimate, the shining star of a team. So I always saw my role as providing stability and setting up the team and working for the team rather than just for myself. Of the 3 World Championships that I did, I remember vividly Fort Worth in '79 and starting horizontal bar compulsory at 8 o'clock in the morning and managing not to do the routine quite as well as I would have expected or have liked. And each one left its own mark, but the most memorable was probably Budapest in '83. It was one of those situations where I managed to get my FIG world-class pin for scoring 108 points, and really I knew that was more or less the culmination of what I was capable of. 1984 was the first big Olympic Games where commercial interests and professionalism almost came in, and it was very evident that the sport had changed pretty much forever at that point going forwards. It had a media interest in it that even a World Championships doesn't get. So it had that buzz around it and a feel that it was a special event. I always sort of knew I was going to be involved in gymnastics from when I'd started as a performer, and then going to Borough Road College to train as a teacher, PE teacher, and then a degree. I always felt then I was on the national team and I would stay in the sport in one form or another, and the obvious way was actually through coaching. 1985, did 2 competitions to retire from, and then stepped into the role as a national coach. Wasn't quite surprised or ready by the reaction of some of the other coaches. It was suddenly on the other side of the fence. So I think it was the relationships, one with the coaches that were producing gymnasts at that time, and the other one was developing a relationship with the athletes who only a month before I'd been on the team with. Proudest moments, there's many now as a coach. I think the most recent results in Rio have just highlighted the whole journey, but I think in some ways one of the big highlights was that first medal with Neil Thomas, first at European Championships in 1990 in Lausanne, where he got a bronze medal on the vault. Unheard of at that time, given the nations we were competing against, which was followed up in '93 and '94 with silver medals in World Championships on floor exercise, which at that time, competing against full strength world nations of the Soviet Union, as well as Japan, China and everybody else, that was a real step up the ladder. 3 things that nobody would know. I have a passion for rugby. I used to play county rugby when I was at school and college. I follow other sports fairly closely, and I still maintain a reasonably good level of fitness, having retired now, 85. but try and stay in shape and be ready should I be called upon to get those hang guards out again. Oh, I'm not sure it was a miracle getting from 2004 to 12, but it was an amazing achievement from a lot of people in the background to doing that. We had qualified a team previously in 1992. We had a full team qualified by right in Barcelona. The problem we had at that time was that we weren't able to develop the juniors. And so the gap between the top seniors and the next generation coming into the team was probably a little bit too large to span. I think the shock of having no athlete representation in 2004 really struck home, and it resulted in funding being removed from the programme. And then fortunately London was awarded the 2012 Games and some funding returned in 2006. That's when I took over in this role, and one of the things I thought was going to be an amazingly difficult task, let alone qualifying for the top 12, was how we were going to stay there. We did divert some of the funding into a junior program and put emphasis that we couldn't just have a team that qualified for 2012 and then slip back down. All right, damn it off, right round. Excellent, good boy, and again. The junior program has gone from strength to strength. Now 5 times consecutive junior European champions and with the individual champion. And each one of those has stepped through into the seniors. So that the teams that went to London and now more recently for Rio have all come off the back of successful junior teams. The expectation of success is there with them, and also the expectation that they can perform under pressure is there with them.
I was saying to Bad, it's just so annoying because I feel so motivated right now.
Yeah, I know.
There's nothing I can use that motivation to. I mean,
yeah,
looking forward,
get strong.
I know, but...
No, I know. I know. It'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come. How would the boys describe me from the team? I guess I would hope they would think that I was a confident person who tried to portray a real degree of calmness and capable of working under pressurized situations without overreacting. Pretty much something like that. I guess I am quite emotional, but I try to hide it as much as possible. I think it's being compassionate with other people, and that brings to mind how I felt when Bryn Bevan broke his leg just 2 weeks after the World Championships in Glasgow. The highs of being silver medalist in the world, 2 weeks later, double fracture of his leg. And I can remember actually sort of standing with him and literally holding his leg and feeling his pain and the emotions that were going then. That was an emotional moment. I think I cried probably after Tokyo 2011, where the team failed to qualify directly. I think everybody had been expecting that we should have done, and I certainly did. But it actually highlighted that we had a few issues within the program. So I think that was private crying. Exterior-wise, generally one puts on a bit of a front. Even when you're hurting inside, it's possible not to show it so much. Tears of joy, London initially, because it was so unexpected. The whole atmosphere and the whole situation of the public supporting everybody, that was a real high point. It was almost a euphoria situation because we weren't expected to get a team medal. And to come up with that in that situation on home ground was just a wonderful feeling, and felt that we had the whole support of the whole of Great Britain behind us. And then going forwards to Rio, the expectation was always that we thought we could be better than London. Slight disappointment is that we didn't quite get the team medal, but then that was sort of recompensed with 2 gold medals, silver, and 2 bronze medals, which for those athletes was just outstanding performances. So the sense wasn't so much as euphoria as a job well done, because that's what we'd really worked for throughout the cycle, and it had all come together and paid off on the day. Max Whitlock's individual all-around medal, it stands out because it's the pinnacle of the sport, and in recent years the difficulty level that everybody has to perform to on every apparatus has risen massively. So to actually be consistent across those 6 apparatus in that situation was outstanding. And then, but to top that with 2 gold medals was just almost the dream coming true and the icing on the cake. We expected Max to perform well for the pommel horse, and we would have been disappointed had we not taken gold and silver. But the floor just shows that if you do the right performances on the day and other performers slip up, then the door is always open. So that was a bonus gold medal. We'd hoped probably for a bronze, possibly a silver on floor exercise, but we're never going to turn them down if they come along as a gold medal. 5 medals in Rio. Is it possible to beat it? Yes, but it's not a given, and it's certainly not going to be an easy task. The coaching team is still basically the same, but slightly different roles. The squad is pretty much fully intact. We'll probably, through the cycle, lose a couple of the older gymnasts in terms of real potential for the team. But the beauty of the squad coming through from Rio onwards is the depth through the squad. So we should have the likes of Bryn Bevan and Niall Wilson, Sam Oldham, still underpinning the backbone of the team, but the opportunities for Max and others who may specialise by then, I'm not saying they're going to at the moment, but it's 1,300 days to Tokyo starting roughly, and much can happen in that time. But we're very optimistic that the team will continue to develop and push forwards through this cycle. I feel terribly honoured and privileged to have been awarded the Coach of the Year, particularly when you know that other sports are working just as hard and conscientiously to get those results. And I'm sure that there's probably half a dozen other coaches from the Olympic sports who had the best Olympics that they've ever had with their sports. So to actually be nominated in front of all of those, I think for me is an amazing recognition, and it's also a recognition for gymnastics as a whole in terms of the journey that we've come on these last 10 years.